Hello and welcome to episode 104 of Just Keep Writing,
a podcast for writers
by writers
to keep you writing.
I'm Marshall.
I'm Nick.
I'm Brent.
I'm LP.
And I'm Will.
Gentlemen, we're back to close the book or end the discussion on Charlie Jane Anders' Never Say You Can't Survive. It's been an awesome run of episodes. I'm really excited to have this last conversation. But before we get to that, we got a couple folks with some things to talk about. So I'm going to throw it to Brent. Brent, what you got?
All right. So I just wanted to talk. I hope it doesn't sound ranty or anything, but I want to spend a little bit and talk about the Black Spec Fic report that just came out this week. It has been all these years. It's been conducted through Fiyah with various partners, Fireside, and there were a few this year. I can't remember. So sorry to all those people who were helping Fiyah contribute. But LD Lewis has kind of been at the forefront of this effort, like every time it's come out, right? And the numbers just have not improved in the industry. Not enough, at least in my opinion. We went from 1% to 6% in the course of, 5 or 6 years. And it's like a percentage point a year, basically, of increase of black representation in the short fiction SFF field, which I mean, we're not even on par with population at this point. So it's frustrating to see those numbers. But what I kind of want to talk about is how I feel like the response to the numbers is where the real failure is happening. So I won't name names because there's no point in naming names, but in the time since it's come out, there have been passive aggressive responses. There have been denials of the numbers. There have been asks for numbers to be corrected. And it's, for instance, and again, I'm not going to say names, but there was someone who felt the need to point out, my magazine did not have 0 black writers. We had 1. That is some shit you could have kept to yourself. And the audacity to correct for that one, to actually email LD and ask for that correction. So that alone is pretty pathetic. But it's what makes it worse is that so few people consider the cost of what this does to her psychologically, what the amount of effort that it takes for her to, because even when these people ask this ridiculous shit, she as a black woman has to be polite, be gracious, still thank them, even though they fucked up. Because the sheer fact that she puts these numbers out there puts her career on the line. And she does it again and again and again. And anyone who's marginalized in any way knows that people in power have a way of blocking you out without ever telling you that they're blocking you out. So this is the risk that she takes in every time that she helps pull these numbers together to expose these industrial flaws. So I want people to do better when they see these kind of numbers and not jump to defense. Or even on the other side of it, not jump to get praise for increasing your numbers. Like, why do you need the cookies? Why do you need it? Why do you bother her to get those? And also on the other side, I want to see us supporting her better, supporting that work better, because she is putting so much on the line. And the reason I wanted to talk about this tonight and wanted to say this is because I know she can't say it. She can't say it without being perceived as the confrontational, angry black woman who's trying to expose all these flaws, right? So in bringing all this up, I would ask that if you read that and you have issues with it, or you feel like this parts of it that are right, or whatever, this, that, and the third, sit with it a little bit. If not for your own understanding, for giving that woman a damn break from having to deal with the work. Like, this is months of work and time and effort, and examining stories over and over and over again. So I just say all this to say, if you haven't read the report, you should read the report. And if you walk away with thoughts about the report, maybe wait before you feel the need to reach out, if you should reach out at all, quite frankly. But yeah, I just wanted to say that and make that space for her because I know she can't make it for herself right now. So,
Nick.
Yeah, no. One, I would love for you to post that in the feed and stuff like that so we all can take a look and review it. But I think it just spark another conversation, and maybe we can go through something quick here. But like, how do we, as writers who want to be allies and things like that, do a better job at supporting and helping LD in the fight here, but also making sure that we're purchasing and reading the right stuff?
well, I think honestly, the best way people can do that is just to give her a break. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think sometimes people see things like this and they see these reports and they immediately just want to rush and like bombard like her with like, oh, well, did you think about this? Oh, did you think about that? Oh, did you think about this? And you know, and it's funny because I saw a response of this type today too. So she, in her graciousness, because she didn't have to say this, she tweeted out like, "Hey, like I would like to see these other kinds of reports in other communities because there are other communities that are also not represented." And the first thing I see in the comments is someone asking her to do it for their community. Not I'm going to take it on for myself and do it. But, oh, well, can you do this? We need you to be an ally. Excuse the fuck out of me? Like, is that really? So if there was anything I could say, it would be recognize that this woman is not your community service ATM and give her a break. So that would be my response on that.
Also, Elle has a Patreon. So if you would like to donate money to her Patreon on a monthly basis, like your $10 in 1 month may not be enough to make the next Black Spec Fic report possible. But she's been doing them. She's been missing years here and there because, you know, financing it, obviously. But if 100 people gave X amount of money on a monthly basis, it could add up to being able to afford a report or even expanding the report potentially, but that would require people to not see her as the service mule. I'd like to take a moment and draw, I should have pulled it up while I was waiting for my turn to speak. I'd like to draw some attention because Elle has been doing the damn thing. She published in Lightspeed recently, and if I can find the damn name of the story,
12th Street Pirates, I think. I read it a while ago before Lightspeed picked it up. I think that's the name of it.
Last Stand of the East 12th Street Pirates, which just came out.
Like that.
And she was also nominated for a
Shirley Jackson
Award. And I bring these things up because one of the things that we lament, or that I hear her lament, Elle does more things than I do. I feel underwater by the things that I do. She seems not to feel like she's under an ocean, but she's constantly acknowledged for all the community work that she does. And it's just really nice to see her get acknowledged for the writing that she does, because first and foremost, like, the reason she became part of this community wasn't so that she could be of service, so that she could be a mule for anybody. The reason she became part of this community was because she's a writer. And she sees wrong in the world and can't let it keep on talking like it's right. And so whatever to that. But your girl can write. Your girl writes a black by ass off. And like, if you want to support her, she has a Patreon. Put some money in her pocket. If you want to support her for the Black Speculative Fiction Report, put some money in her pocket. She's already doing things for you and you don't even know it. So just damn do it. Stop playing yourself. And by that, playing me. Nick asked ways that there can be support. Purchase subscriptions to magazines that you cannot contribute to. So I just saw Fantasma magazine, which is a new speculative magazine for Latina and Latinx people. Anathema is for queer and trans people of color. Fiyah is for Black people intersectionally. Stellium Lit centers Black queer people, but there's some straight folk. There are some non-Black folk. Like invest in magazines that are doing this kind of work. Also, if you are a magazine editor and you recognize that you have a race problem, do the work of finding editors who have a more diverse reading taste than you do. Do the work of inviting writers to soliciting writers to be included in your magazine, because people submit to magazines where they think they're wanted. You know, before Fiyah, a lot of people were not submitting to magazines. And now that there is Fiyah, you get a lot more people submitting to magazines. But it doesn't make a difference if, you know, your literary background is just, you know, Lovecraft and Campbell. So also read something else. Jesus Christ. You got Delaney, we got Butler, we got Tanana Reeve, we've got Stephen Barnes, and y'all still out here reading motherfucking Heinlein? Like, Heinlein ain't bad. Well, Heinlein ain't... the shit that Heinlein... Some of the things that are classic sci-fi don't have shit to do with the world that we live in now, right? Or it's anachronistic. It's a future that's anachronistic. I was like, that... Well, we've already lived past that, and that's not what it was, right? There's so many things to read, and if you're just reading our favorite straight white cis men, then like you're doing yourself and your magazine a disservice. So tighten up, get your shit together. Stop making this fucking report necessary every couple of years.
Right, because that's the other thing, and this is the thing, and I mean, like I said, Elle is one of my best friends, so you know, there's things we talk about, and I know the things that she won't ever say in public, which is why I get so fucking mad about this stuff, because I know the burdens that she bears in private. And I will say this, what I need people to really understand is that for everything she does and for everything that she builds, she never gets it for herself, because that's the sacrifice you have to make when you're out here trying to like blaze trails and do right by people. You unfortunately don't get to be a part of it yourself. Like, she created these wonderful things with the Ignites, and she'll never get one. You know, sat here and has for years, you know, contributed to Fire in so many ways. And, you know, beyond the first issue, which the staff just had to put together, like, she can't be a part of that creatively, you know? So I need people to appreciate the sacrifice. I need people to appreciate that sacrifice more. And, so yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I know what the burden she has privately, and I strongly feel that it's I feel that people prey on the fact that like she's agile enough to know not to fuck up in public, and so people come at her sideways. And I am not above, you know, taking it there, but I'm not going to, because that's not what she wants. But I will say, down. Yeah. But, you know, I just wanted to, and I not necessarily for our audience, but just in general, just for people to know that, like, she's out here putting her ass into trying to make this community better. So that's just why I wanted to talk about it.
You know, I think maybe it would be interesting if we could have some of the editors from the magazines on, and whether they like it or not, ask hard questions and say, you know, how many Black writers do you have? And if they give the answer, I don't know. Okay, we'll wait.
Let me tell you something. The reason I fuck with Will is because Will is about the bullshit. I'm here for this. And if they're not listening to the fucking podcast, they'll never hear this shit. Go ahead.
I mean, honestly, I think, and it's really, I think, if they're all so good intentioned and well intentioned, I think it's okay to ask, well, why not? And no more is the excuse, well, the talent's not there. Not true. So my thing is that if they were to come on and we ask those hard questions, then it's okay. Well, then how about next month you open it up just to Black authors? That's like an easy way to do one thing. That's like bare minimum. You know, you can
do a Black issue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And also do I don't mean to interrupt you, Brent.
Oh no, you're fine.
Do a Black issue, but also don't let that be the only time you have Black people in your magazine.
Right. Just intentionality. I mean, I will sing his praises from here to the moon, but I mean, look, Dave Ring, when he steps into the ring, he is intentional. He reaches out to people. He's like, hey, this is a blind spot. I don't have this covered. Let me find the writer that I think can do it, and reached out to them and see, hey, do you have something? Do you going back to what LP was saying, just the feeling of being wanted and being seen, like that goes a long way. Like, and so, yeah, I hope people after they get over their feelings, I hope they'll draw the right conclusions from the report, and not do that thing where an injustice is pointed out and you decide to nitpick to save your ass and not actually think about the bigger picture.
Girl, not like that press, not like Wild Hunt.
Ooh, that one. All right. I know we can't.
Well, I'm glad we talked about this. Should we move on?
Yeah, we can move on. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there.
Oh, no, I'm glad you did. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate that. I'm gonna have a link in the show notes to the report, and almost everything else that I was trying to jot things down as you guys were talking, because we'll try to have everything in the show notes. But when I go back to edit, I'll make sure I get in there. Will has something else to say, but then throw it to LP. He has an announcement. Then we got to get to the book. Go, Will.
Yeah, I think to LP's point about buying subscriptions, helping those magazines out, because we should have more than just like Fire Magazine for Black speculative writers. We should have like 5. Honestly, if you can make one successful, just having one is not enough. Okay, so like hopefully people can rally up to all those magazines, make them popular, which will also create more opportunity for other people to start their own magazines, and then we can just dominate. We start really making changes through numbers. Right.
Well,
and then
are you planning world domination of some sort?
That's always
I feel
my
like
goal.
That's what's happening.
That's always my goal. So, like, get it together, universe. Okay, God, I'm done.
Shout out to Anathema. Shout out to Fantasma, which is a new Latin magazine. And there's one, I'll figure out the name of it, that services Southeast Asian spec-fic writers, because we need these things.
Yep.
I think we should try to have them on the podcast and talk about their mission, and just as another magazine in our field that can really talk about it so people know about it.
Yes, this will be a whole nother episode. We should move on.
For sure.
So
okay.
Yeah. I would love to talk about this again, for sure.
I'm glad y'all just felt where I was coming from, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
For 20 minutes, we sure did.
LP, you got an announcement.
Yes. It is December 6th that we're recording this. So Reliving Mythology is in the streets. It is in the world. And this is the anthology. The Voodoonauts presents Reliving Mythology, which is the anthology that we worked on with Android Press. Features writers from our inaugural class of Voodoonauts from 2020, as well as a couple of solicited writers. We are so proud. People have been taking photos of their copies and posting them on the Twitter and on the Instagram and letting me know they're getting them. I'm so excited about it. People are showing it a lot of love, and I just wanted to make it available to everyone here because, if they love it, you gonna love it. So just go ahead and get you some love, okay? So again, it's Voodoonauts presents Reliving Mythology, and it's available through Android Press, and that will also be in the show notes.
And that cover slaps. The cover's really good.
Cover smacks the shit.
I was about to throw it to you. Brent, take it away. Let's get to this.
Right. Cool. All right. So we are in the last section of Charlie Jane Andrews' book, Never Say You Can't Survive. This section is called How to Use Writerly Tricks to Gain Unstoppable Powers. I really like how she framed this like a comic book handbook, so it's cool. All right, so first question out the gate is going to be a personal one for all of us. Not personal, but talking about our writing. So do you feel that your writing has a voice? And if it if your prose does have a voice, how would you describe that voice? All right, Nick.
Did you just decide to start with the hardest question you could possibly ask us?
I came out the gate like.
Go ahead, Nick, please.
Whew. Look, I was just trying to turn my camera back on. That was an accident. Kidding. I like this question because this is something I am discovering through our MFA program here at Western Colorado. I made a comment one time because our assignment was make a list of your tells and ticks, right, of mistakes you do. And I put on there, I'm constantly writing from a military perspective. Boy, did I get yelled at on that one by a lot of people because that is part of the voice that I have. That I'm learning that, I write PTSD pretty well and can be able to tackle those subjects in a delicate manner, and that's representative of those that suffer from it. And I think recognizing your voice is kind of what I want to go with this one. Is that's a tall task, but I think once you do start recognizing your voice, the writing comes easier. Did I answer your question? I feel like only answered part of it.
Answer. Yeah. I guess I'll go next to give everyone else a little more time to think on it, since this was a hard question. For myself, and I don't say this negatively, so I don't want anyone to think I'm downing myself when I say this. I don't think I have a voice yet. I think it's developing. I don't think I'm okay. Let me rephrase, because I'm getting looks. I don't think it's reached the evolution I would like it to be at yet. So I'm not going to say it's not there. I'm just going to say it's not at the evolution I would like it to be. Where I feel I feel it distinctly, right? But if I had
your key word, developing.
Yeah,
you
developing.
Have a voice, but you're developing it still, right?
Fair. Call me out. All right. So yes. All right. So if if I had to say, I guess if I had to describe that voice, I think it's that's and this is why I say developing, because I can't necessarily pin it down to something, but I would say it's probably. There's a lot of heart in my voice. I'll say that. Yeah, there's a lot of everything is approached with this certain kind of earnestness to it, I guess. I don't necessarily consider myself to be sarcastic or quippy or comedic with mine, but I do feel like my voice is you'll walk away from, I guess, feeling something. You'll feel something. There's earnestness to it. You'll feel some kind of emotion when you walk away from it. Usually, probably probably a heavier one. I think. I think of everything I've published, they kind of deal with a little bit of there's heavier emotions in it. So if I had to give the answer right now, I would say it's that. But I still think it's developing. I don't think it's reached where I would like it to be.
I'll go next, maybe.
All right.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of with you, Brent, on what's funny is I feel like I can hear my voice, but I don't know if I have written it well yet. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I spend most of my days, I talk for a living. I'm snarky, I'm sarcastic. I feel like there's something about how I speak and how I move through the world that I can weave into my writing more than I have. I wrote a scene today that I was really happy with that had to do with this kind of, I don't know, this character just had a freaking attitude, and it was really fun to write. And it kind of reminded me of some of the, I don't know, voices, distinct voices like John Scalzi, for example, that it just has when he writes certain characters, it's just, it works. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of, I would like to get closer to where I think I need to be. I really like what I'm writing, but I feel like whatever my voice is, I don't think I can put words on it, but I can hear it. I don't know if that's generic or if I'm popping out.
That makes total.
That's kind of where I'm at.
No, that makes total sense. That's totally a fair answer. I think, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes this challenging, because, in the same way that as a person speaking, you don't hear, as a person speaking, I don't hear what Nick and Marshall and Brent and Will hear from my voice because it has a different sound moving away than coming forward. I think you really need other people to help you define your voice, or at least help describe your voice, in order to understand it, because it's coming out of you. You don't have as much. You don't have as much. You can't. You're doing the thing. You can't do the thing and then assess the thing at the same time, I think. So
I'm glad
that was
you
my
said
polite way
that.
of dodging that question.
No, I'm glad you said it because now you've given me permission for my next question. But Will, I'm gonna let you answer it.
I don't think I have a voice yet. I think I have themes that I constantly come up. I think I'm good at automatically creating relationships, and I think the themes that I deal with are about family, both found and by blood. And then a lot of stuff I've been writing recently has been a lot about grief and letting go.
All right. So this leads to the next question then, because I want if we've read each other's work, I want us to say what we think that person's voice is. And the reason I did it this way, I wanted to do it this way, is because I wanted us to identify like how we feel about it. And I wanted us to see how each other feels about, their work. So, and I don't think we've all read each other's work. I think maybe, but if not, just, do for the ones you have read, I guess. All right, Nick, you were smiling when Will was talking, so I'm letting you go.
Hey, I've read something from everybody in this group. Am I the only one?
No, I've read something
Okay.
from all of y'all too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was for a minute there. I was like, "Oh, okay." You want me to go one by one, or like?
Yeah, one by one. You can fire it off real quick. You don't have to give like a super long explanation. You can just fire it off. But
Yeah, maybe I need to go second. So one of the harder things I have is like verbalizing what voice is. So give me a minute to think on this one.
All right. Well, do I need to go? I can go.
Will's over here saying I don't have a voice, and it's the same comment I made to Brent. It's like, no, you do. It is developing, right? But you definitely have a voice. When I read Will's stuff, I know it's Will's stuff, not based on theme, but it's the way his dialogue flows, the way his descriptions go. You know what I mean? Like, you have a voice like Brent. It is developing into something more what you want as you're progressing and growing as a writer. So I just want to, put that out there on the table real quick.
All right. Well, LP, your hand's up. So you want to go first?
I was saying let's focus on one person at a time rather than doing a round robin.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, we can do one person at a time.
Let's stay on Will, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to stay on Will because I already got Will's in my head. All right. So Will's voice is a voice of authoritative hopefulness. And I say that because when I read your work, there is a gravity to it, but it's a gravity of hope. Like, it's a gravity of y'all gonna love each other and y'all gonna make this world right and you're gonna fix it because I goddamn said so. Like that's what your stories carry. That's the weight they carry when I read yours. So
thank you.
We all gonna say Will. So who's next?
I gotta echo that too, Brent. Like, you put that spot on. Like, Will calls me every day, and yeah, holy shit, like, you were right. Authoritative, you're gonna get along and love each other. No, I love it. It really fits, and even that kind of goes with the themes too of your writing.
You can put it on the business card now.
Yeah, I'll say the same. Just put it on the business card or whatever we're doing. I love it.
All right, LP, what you gonna jump in on?
I haven't read any of Will's work.
Oh, okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. I knew we all hadn't. That's why I was like,
well, that's what I was gonna bring up because we haven't all read each other's stuff. So
yeah, that's fine. We can just do who's read who. Like, I don't want to, we'll all read each other's stuff eventually, I'm sure. So, all right, so let's do. Well, I'll do in the order of people who joined the podcast. So, Marshall, you and Nick are writing co-current. So I'm gonna do you. All right, so I've read Marshall's work, so I'm gonna put it in here. So your when I read your work, the voice is there's it's like a grit to it. Like there's like it's like when I read your stuff, there's like it the way you frame prose, it's like almost feels like a march in a way, like in like one of those like. Yeah, just like a like grit. Like there's just like a perseverance to it. Like, you know, how some people write things and they feel dry. Yours doesn't feel dry. Like there's a steady beat to it. It's almost like a drum. But but it gets to there's still that core of like the core of like humanity at like everything you write. So
Take that.
that's my quick little read.
I'm going to go for Marshall.
Oh, Will. Okay, all right.
I have to agree. There's a grittiness, and there's like a. It always seems like a lot of your characters are dealing with moral issues of what's wrong in the world. I see a lot of that in your work. There's very much that there's always this question of mortality and also moral compass of the characters. And you see a lot of like blacks, whites, grays throughout the stories, which I think is really riveting.
Oh, I'll take that too. I didn't realize we were doing this tonight. I'm excited. This is lovely.
Can I go now?
Oh, please.
Yep. For Marshall.
Yep.
So I'm echoing what the other two have said already too. But I'm in school with you, and I get to see you write in different genres, different formats, lengths, and things like that. And there's a reoccurring voice, and it's one of pain. It's your characters usually have something going on in their lives where they're experiencing emotional pain, but there's this underlying wave of hope that's always trickled throughout as well. And it's in your Westerns, your short fiction that you've done in romance. Like it's echoed and it's sprinkled throughout. So then that's what I've noticed this last, year and a half in our program is that pain and the trauma is coming through, but you have these beautiful layers and nuances of hope, and like, it's not all that bad. And I, the individual, the character, am going to make things better.
You guys are delightful.
All right. So, LP, I read your stuff. So I am doing yours first. All right. Your voice, your voice is developed. Your voice is strong as fuck. And if I had to sum up your voice in like one word, it is authentic. Like your voice is authentic. Your prose and the way you pull it together, it's there's a beautiful rawness to it. It's just like, this is the real world, and this is even in your fantasy, because I did the audio for Arma Indigo. Even in your fantasy worlds, it still feels like I'm giving you the real world. You don't get to flinch away from it, but I'm also going to make it beautiful for you. Like, so there's just this beautiful rawness to it. So yeah, if I had to sum up your prose, that is how your voice in your prose, that's how I would sum it up.
Oh, I'm going next for this one.
Yep.
I think, kind of piggyback off of what Brent said, there's a tenderness, a heart aching, and a musicality to the way that you write. There's music in those words. I always think of the story that was on Escape Pod, and all I kept thinking is like LP's mom singing to him. That's how I kind of view it, because there's this really beautiful melody throughout the story.
Oh yeah, 100% musicality.
I like that too.
Perfect. That's perfect.
I would add, I think I haven't read as much of LP stuff, but I mean, there's moments of everything you guys said, but moments of kind of delightful snark that I like as well. Yeah. So I'm gonna add that to what you guys said for sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like these characters, they they don't let you get away with your bullshit, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's yeah. So if I had to, I think that is perfect. Like something up LP's voice.
All right, Nick.
I feel like I've been killing it on the descriptions tonight.
I think you're doing great.
Yeah.
We have to give Nick some praise too, I think, next.
Oh yeah. No, we're not done. We definitely coming. We definitely getting the Nick.
LP had to turn his camera off for that one.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely getting the Nick. All right. So I've read Nick's stuff, and Nick, there is a huge compassion in your voice, like compassion. Like there's definitely like empathy and like understanding, like because it's even in the stories that I've read of yours, where it's been like a bit like a bit traumatic. Like there still is like it feels like someone in those moments when you just need a damn hug. Like that's what your voice feels like in the writing of it. Like that moment when you just need a hug and someone finally gives it to you. So yeah, like there's just deep compassion in your writing, in your voice. Like I feel it in the way you describe your characters, for sure.
Yeah, I'll second that. And having read quite a bit of your stuff, like I said, the last year and a half or so, there's especially when it comes to your dialogue and characters and how they move through the world. There's like a cadence to it. Like there's like it feels, it's always moving, and it feels very natural. I don't know. I really like how your characters just kind of unfold, and the voice is there. The dialogue is lovely. You're really good with dialogue. And I don't know. I don't know. Cadence is the word that just is sticking in my mind. Maybe it's a military thing. I don't know, because those are some of the themes that were coming through. But
a lot of my themes.
Yeah, but that's just what's on my mind right now.
I think you get to you know how to distill a character's humanity. You can really distill, human emotion and human tragedy really well. And you grapple a lot with what's internal and external happening to the characters. Like a lot of your characters might be internally going through something, but then there's also a lot of your stories have to do with an external issue in the world, And I see that a lot reflected of like the content of your character, because you, especially when you're wrong, you actually try to do better. I think seeing your growth as a human being, of coming from this place that was mainly white and Mormon, I've seen you grown in a much more expansive, loving way that we don't get to see enough people who have faith actually reflect what that faith actually means. And you do.
Man,
don't cry,
this is
bitch.
Like, I feel
definitely second that one.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm blushing over here.
You
Damn,
should.
dog.
That's why I needed us all to have a good moment. So I'm glad you all are blushing.
Okay, now it's
Now
Brent's turn,
are you
right?
about to take us right out?
No, did we do Brent's yet? No.
Yes, you did. Move on.
No, we did not. Right.
Ooh.
Bitch, you got me fucked up.
Yeah, don't even. All right. Who would like to start?
I'm going
Brent?
on mute. I'm going to go on mute and disappear.
Okay.
Turn off your camera. It's easier.
No, I don't care. Look, the thing I think I've learned about this is one of my lessons of the past couple of years, is learning how to take people giving you good things. So I'm keeping my camera on. All right, anyway, go ahead.
And we're emotional as fuck in this podcast.
I don't think it started out that way, but it got there.
Mm-hmm. Who wants to start? I can start if
You go ahead. I have
Marshall.
something on the tip of my tongue, but go ahead.
You go, Marshall.
No, I would just say I think what I like and I've read a few things of Brent's. What I like is there's a twist to Brent's voice. Like he would take something and twist it in a way that will make you want to stay with those characters for as long as he'll let you. You know what I mean? There was something endearing even about the darkest characters that Brent writes that I want to hang out with those characters, even though I'm supposed to hate them. And that has everything to do with the voice that comes along with the prose that comes along with those characters. So that was sort of what I was thinking. Go ahead. Oh, I didn't call on a person.
Yeah, call on a person.
Will, you said you were going to go, but LP's
go to
pictures
LP.
jumping. Go ahead.
I think someone said earlier for someone's work, authority. And I think there's a way to drop somebody into a story and make them feel like they are collected and protected. You know what I mean? Like, you don't question, there are unreliable narrators, but you don't have to worry about your narrators being unreliable because they're very reliable and they know where you need to be as a reader. And that's one of the things that, like, I think part of that is, like, one of your superpowers is world building, and like, you do that, but you also do that with character. You also do that with exposition. You also do that with description, right? And so there's never a point when I'm reading your work and I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? It's always just like, you're just there. It's so rock solid. You're in the room. You can see the room. You can see the people. You can see the corner of the mouth going up, and like, what it means. And it's really powerful.
Go ahead, Nick. You had your hand up.
Yeah. So reading some of your stuff, like, you do a really good job of making the bad guy the bad guy. And I was specifically thinking of the novella that you put out where we're following this cult and they're going to raise their god. And you come to find out the god's like, y'all did it wrong. And y'all have been messed up for so many years. And it's like, but it's the same thing with the other short fiction that you put out too in the nightclub. You follow the bad guy. You're not afraid to follow the antagonist. And I think some of that speaks to some of your past and some of the trauma you've experienced, where you're taking something that's lauded as good and you're showing it for its true colors. And that's something I've noticed that shines through your work really well. And it brings, I'm always talking about your stuff and your themes afterwards. Like, I don't stop your readings until hours later, days later, when I can discuss it.
Go ahead, LP.
You also do something that I really love, something that I'm exploring more and more in my work, and something that I'm like starting to recognize in work that I enjoy, is that you recognize that some people are offered the opportunity to be a hero, and some people are forced to be the villain. And what Nick said really kind of brought that to mind, because he's like, you're following the villain, but like, are you following the villain? Are you following who everyone else in the story is decided is the villain? And it's like, it's a level of empathy and compassion that you don't necessarily see in all fiction, right? It's not something you can always get. When you can turn Jafar into the protagonist and you're following him because you understand that his reasons for doing what he did aren't because he's a shitty person, it's because he had to do something no one else could do. And like, it's powerful.
So that's a work in progress, y'all, that he was talking about. Not done yet, but yeah.
But I will have it. Thank you so much.
All right, well, bring us home on this.
I would say expansive. I think when I read your work, there's always, even if you don't show it in that story, you put these little drops of world building that make you see a whole bigger world. I also think, after reading some of your work, this is where you put all your vulnerability at. But at the same time, this is where you also have all of your fun. So, and the two play off of each other. So when I think of the way that you write, I would describe it as expansive, a reckoning, and also I would say vulnerability. And I think it's also because, we know you a little bit. So I would say, this is where you get to dig in and see all of these life experiences that you've had, and you're putting it on the page. And I think that's just really fascinating.
Aw, guys, this is really good. No, I'm glad we did this. Like, see, now we can all feel, we all got some love, necessary love about each other's work because you guys are all great writers. So I knew this would be, I actually knew this was, I was excited because I knew this would be a fun question. So I know we took a while on it, but I'm happy we did. All right. So one of the things, and this is give us a chance to kind of like talk a little bit more about ourselves and our writing and how like it works is there's a part of this where Charlie Jane talks about like how she was a dance champion and how that kind of plays into like how she writes and the style she writes, and it made me think a bit of what Will was saying about LP's voice and how there's musicality to it. Well, I know LP. I know LP can sing. I know LP got a voice. And so hearing that, I was like, aha, see, it's in there without people even necessarily knowing that like that talent was there. So I guess and then Will kind of just mentioning about me, like my vulnerability coming out through the words. So I kind of wanted to go around to each of us and just kind of have us talk about like some part of our life that it is kind of embedded in how we write and like and how our style of writing basically. So another hard one, I know, but I figure I wanted tonight to be kind of like us kind of reflecting on how we do things and like applying it a little bit.
It's deep.
All right, LP, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I talked about this before, that the P in LP stands for pariah. And there's a loneliness that I identify with, which is not supported by my extroversion. And I think that loneliness and that like introspection shows up in the way that I write people interacting with people and the way that I write people feeling feelings. Because I think frequently when people are feeling feelings and someone's writing about it, it doesn't look good. It looks like nothing's happening. And I've realized that that's one of the things that I do well. So yeah, I'm working out loneliness in most situations.
I think that's a good answer, and that kind of exactly what I was going for in terms of like what experience do you really bring into your work and like how it's like part of your style. Anybody want to go next, or should I go next?
I might try to go next.
Okay.
I think LP, you kind of reminded me of, I don't know how do I want to say this. So every job I've had, for the most part, has been some sort of, I don't want to say, okay, it's been sales, it's been talking, it's been bartending, it's been waiting tables. There's a performance-ish level to it, right? And so I think what LP said, which is kind of why I wanted to go next, it was fresh in my mind, is I find myself feeling lonely sometimes. But at the same time, what I like about what my jobs have brought to my writing is like I have these characters, right, who are doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. They're out there, they're doing these things, but there's parts of them that they can't quite handle. They can't quite deal with. And I think I don't know if I'm answering the question exactly the way I want, but for example, the scene I wrote today speaks to that a little bit, because there's this internal monologue going while this character is performing and doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, right? And there's like layers to that, which I like. And so I guess that's kind of how I would answer that question. Even though I could turn around and smile and talk to a table and do exactly what I need to be doing, I might go in the back and be upset about something else because I'm dealing with that, but I can always turn it around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. All right. Should I go, or Will and Nick, you feeling it? Or? Okay, I'll go. Okay. So for me, there's two big things that I think life experiences that are like foundational to pretty much everything I do. And I would say my life as a army brat is like a huge thing that's infused in my writing. Because when people talk about world building being my superpower and all this, well, it's because at such a young age I was seeing the world in a way. Like I went from Alaska to Georgia to Hawaii, Tennessee to Central America back to so. And even now, traveling in different countries and whatnot, it just kind of like instilled in me this idea that like there's always so much more going on than you realize, and so much more depth and history to the world than what you think is out there. And I think that's always been like a huge part of like my style of writing and why I focus so much on dropping those little hints of like the world's so much bigger, is because as a kid, that's pretty much something I learned early on, was that the world is so much bigger than you think. The second thing is growing up Catholic. That there like I think Will talked about an empathy in my writing. Well, and an empathy for people that, and I think LP talked about empathy for people that aren't necessarily, are people not being given the choice to be good or bad, I guess. And the reason I say that is because, and how that ties into growing up Catholic, is that like, well, from the time I was a child to almost in college, that religion made me think I was no good and I was not worth anything and I didn't even deserve to be here, and that a thing like me was an abomination and some unholy thing that didn't need to exist, right? And so that, coming out of that and realizing all of that was bullshit, it drives a lot of how I, style characters and think about characters, and why I do give empathy to people that aren't necessarily good, or aren't, and why also on the flip side, why I'm so keen on tearing down in my work these institutions that are supposedly good, because on the surface this institution is supposed to be this religion of love and faith and whatever, and all it did for me was cause me pain and anguish, and and scars that'll never go away. So yeah, if I had to say something, those two things, those two life experiences, more than any other two life experiences, really are infused into my work. So,
Nick, you have
I'll
something
go
to say?
last. Yeah, I'll go last. I'm gonna cry, so I'll go last.
Oh no, cry. Let's do it now. I'm kidding.
look at Will.
I'm kidding. I'm so evil.
The tears.
Compassion and authority. There we go.
That's what you put in your work? Compassion and authority?
No, you're saying that
No,
was that's
I'm
me.
describing you.
Got him.
Come for his spirit. Stay for his entrails.
Well, if we're talking about what I put in my work, the things I discuss, grief is really a big one. I think it kind of goes along with the themes. It's really interesting. I forget, Brent, you grew up Catholic like I did. So we have a lot of the same experiences when it comes to that religion and the way that it was perceived. Yeah, I think growing up, feeling isolated. You know what? It's really interesting. I think I put that in there. I think I actually put more traumatizing stuff about being controlled in my work, and anger in society, and anger just in general. I think those are a lot of the things from my life that I put in my writing. It's really weird. I don't usually know what I'm putting into my story until someone calls me out on it.
Mm-mm.
I have
Nick?
notes, but we'll come back to that off camera.
Oh, okay. Nick?
All right, so this one, like, probably gonna cry a little bit here in this one, because for me it is so personal. You guys want to know describe characters, and what I do with emotion and stuff like that, and how they move in the world, and like really at the end of the day, like I'm just trying to write a better version of me. my journey in this writing career, where my background was, where it is now, hasn't been easy. And I think the one thing I can give myself a little credit for is always trying to have compassion and empathy and understanding. And I think that's what bleeds into my work the most with all the characters that I have. I like the gray moral lines of what is good, what is wrong, or what is right, what is wrong, what's good, what's bad, because it's all, it's perspective a lot of the times. But then there are some of these that are very clearly black and white that you can't hide anymore. So for me, like, yeah, it's all of me that kind of gets poured into it. It's every life experience I've ever had that I pull from, that I draw from. I mean, I just wrote a retelling of Cinderella. It's my dark Cinderella version, and shit from my own childhood was popping through. Didn't have a wicked stepmom, didn't have wicked step siblings, but I had a mom, due to her own issues, that she was in the house, but she wasn't engaged with us. She never sat down or did homework with us. She always just told us no or made us go to our rooms because she just didn't want to deal with us. Again, my mom had her own issues, and as an adult, I can see that now, but it had an impact on me as a kid. And now writing this story, it's like, damn, like, okay, unprocessed trauma there. I've got to deal with on my own here. Will, you want to elaborate on that question?
No, it just sounds like depression, because your mom and my mom could buy a house together.
Well, I mean, but they'd probably kill each other in the process.
100%, and it's the other person's fault.
If they can get off the couch.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Wow. Yes.
And I love my mother. I think as Nick does as well. We love our parents.
You love your parents, but they're human. End of the day.
Yeah, and they just. I think a lot of times too, Nick. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, when you bring that with your writing, does it also help you kind of have a little bit more understanding of your mom as being a whole person besides being your mom?
Oh yeah. Well, and like, I mean, maybe I was a little shit when I was older or younger. Like, there came a point where, like, my mom demanded so much respect out of us, like militant respect. And I finally snapped and said, respect is earned. And, like, that was the end of the discussion. And for me, I didn't feel like I was being respected. Therefore, I wasn't going to grant you any respect. And I lived my life like that for a little while with people. And it gets you nowhere at the end of the day. But I think for me, like, being a parent now, too, like, man, I text my mom sometimes. It was like, how the hell did you deal with this as a kid? She gives me an answer that I know is false, but it is true for her and her perspective. And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but, like, I'm not going to make that battle of correcting you. Like, you weren't like that when we were growing up. But I understand, like, what you view and stuff like that. And again, like, my mom has her own issues, and I think what really helped me, and this is, again, answering the same question of my life experiences. My wife that I'm married to, we have 3 beautiful stepkids that call me dad. She is a domestic violence survivor. And being married to her, like, my mom is too. And I always forget that. My mom spent almost 10 years in a bad relationship. Same with my wife, and so it's one of those things where it's like, and I was raised by a stepdad, right? So, like, there's certain things I can draw on, like, that from my life experience that just pour into my writing. And, like, I'm holding back tears right now because it's like, I realize so much having these conversations, being open about it, but these are really the things that I draw on. And you guys kind of hit it on the head earlier with my voice, is like, emotion's a big thing for me. I'm a very emotional, cuddly teddy bear, but, like, I'll fight you if I have to, or kind of want to, if you do say the wrong things. AKA, I got a long Twitter thread going right now, but posts I'm going to make. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll show you later. I get upset over certain things when I feel like the people that I love are being harmed, and things like that. I want to show that in my writing a little bit more. And that's a bridge I'm trying to cross too, right? And there's certain things that are easier to write, and I'm always trying to challenge myself in that aspect. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off on a tangent there.
No. Like I knew coming in. See, I structured this a certain way. Fun question, and I knew it'd be a harder question. So I'm gonna bring it back to a fun one.
You
Like,
say you
so
got
we
one
can,
to take us out on because we
yeah,
might be running out.
I got a fun one to take us out on because I think we all probably have a good answer to this. So we talked about ourselves a little bit, but who are some of the authors that you think have like some of the most distinctive voices out there, and like how would you describe those voices? So probably just for sake of time, maybe drop like one or two, just so we're not like listing a whole bunch all night, because I think we probably could. But all right, Marshall, I feel like you got answers to this one.
I
So
got one on the tip of my tongue. I don't know. I was watching LP's face when you asked the question, though.
I know LP got answers too.
Okay,
Like that's why I'm kind of like, I didn't want to go to him right away because I feel like he's sifting through a bunch of answers.
Right.
But
I only have one at the that I want to bring up, and I brought him up earlier just because I just like his stuff, and it just makes me. His stuff makes me laugh. It makes me think, and it's also just got a distinct voice, and people might be mad at me, but it's John Scalzi because I just love the distinctness of his characters, how they get like if he has a bitchy character, man, that's the bitchiest fucking character, and I just fucking love it. It makes me so happy. I'm like laughing. I read something recently of his over the summer. It was, and he talks about it. It was just a story like he just had this random idea after all this stuff he was going through with the pandemic and stuff. And it was like, it had to do with kaijus and just big ass creatures. And it was just the fucking most batshit crazy story, but like, it was fun as fuck. And the voice is distinct. And I don't know. That's the first one that came to my mind. I know he's not. Cool. Yeah, I know it's not. I wish I could have. It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
No apologies. Like we like what we like. We don't need to apologize for it. All right.
I just wish there was a black author. I will cut this. I just wish there was a black author. I'm gonna tip my tongue. Honestly.
I mean, hey, look, you like what you like, and don't feel shame for that. Like shit. That's why me and LP are here. We'll give you recommendations.
Yeah. You help me out. You help me out with that.
So 3 people jump to my mind, but then I'm like, damn. Oh, I don't know if this is common knowledge. I'm only reading people of color this year. Like books by people of color this year. 3 people jumped to my mind. I was like, do I like, I can't think of any white writers at the moment whose voices I love outside of like Friends, which isn't a bad thing. But like, I feel like I spend my Twitter life like pumping up my friends, and I think people think that I'm just playing them. Like, oh, they're your friends. This is nepotism, which it's not, because if I don't like something, if you don't know me, if I'm not into something, I might not tell you that I don't like it. I just won't talk about it, and you definitely won't be on my Twitter. Anyway, some folks that are easy to find are N.K. Jemisin and Cadwell Turnbull. Cadwell Turnbull wrote No Gods, No Monsters, which fucked me up last year. It won the Lambda Literary Award last year, or earlier this year, because it was so fucking good. N.K. Jemisin, y'all know who N.K. Jemisin is. I don't need to go into that. Sequoia Nagamatsu wrote How High We Go in the Dark, which is a literary-leaning book that came out earlier this year. But like, it's definitely speculative. There are elements of space opera, dystopia, pandemic plague story / like creation. Like, it's crazy. It takes place over a fucking millennium. The story, the book is it's been. Oh, I got it right here. Look, y'all can't see it because this is a podcast, but fuck it, it's good. And Nia Davenport. I'm trying to keep it to people with the books that excludes people, which makes it easier for me. Nia Davenport, man, I've read some of Nia's drafts before. I've looked at things, before she turned them into so and so and blah blah blah. But baby, the blood trials, her little feelings. Awesome. I was like, I wasn't ready. It's right there, Will. Yeah, right there. Look, facing out, because you know what you're doing. The blood trials was like, it was so fast paced, but you never felt like you were lost in it. And Yeah, Nia has a fantastic voice, and I've seen it across middle grade and YA and adult, and it's yeah, she's a bad one.
All
Nick, you
right.
go. Or Brent or Nick. Who's
No,
going?
Nick. No. I was just saying all right for the next one. So Nick, you go ahead.
All right, that's fine. I was about to be like, no, Will, I'm not going to listen to you, but you know, I won't fight him too much. So I was actually going to say, I was going to say Nia, because I love the Blood Trials so much. So I can't make the claim that I've only read authors of color this last year. But I've read a lot more than I ever have in the past, and that's kind of something I challenge myself on. But I'm gonna throw Zin E. Rockland. We had her on the podcast, which I mean, Flowers of the Sea, coming from a white guy, like talking to her about that, and like she felt empowered
that
to
shit was
be
badass.
an angry black woman on that show, on that book, and I'm like, I'm here for it. I loved it. It was like, what I like about it, it's so different from me, which really helps out. But I'm going to throw another one out there. Daniel Jose Older. Sorry, Will. Doing Ballad and Dagger right now. Daniel is prolific to me. What he does with mixing in Latin culture is beautiful. It brings me to a different world in the same world. You know, my stepdad's Hispanic, so I got to grow up with some Latin culture and Hispanic culture in my life, and so reading this is like some of the phrases and some of the things they call each other. I'm just like, this brings me back. Like, I love it, and I'm glad that he's doing that and has the space to do that. Will,
Did Brent go?
No, I figured
are you next?
Brent is leading today. It's your turn.
I should end as mine. So you.
It's true.
You don't get to grow nothing.
Well, I have like 8. So
run it. Yeah.
Tenerife Jew.
Okay.
Oh, I love that book you're holding. No one can see it. It's my soul to keep.
It is just hands down. Also, as far as Nia is concerned, I'm having the Immortals. That's my book club that we can learn from as our like book club pick. Sui Davies, Okumboa. Okay. I love everything Sui writes, all his short stories. And he writes these really immersive worlds that I love. I was also going to say Daniel Jose Older, but that little bitch took it.
Got him.
He's a big bitch.
Yeah. You know
what? I'm large and in charge right now with that.
You know what? Go fuck yourself for taking Daniel.
Teddy bear bitch.
You knew that was going to happen.
At least I listened to that episode.
True. Boom.
You know what? I won't listen to it, LP. Did you ever listen to that episode?
I don't know if we need
I haven't gotten around to it, but I just know that before I came on, I didn't listen to Will for when I first like started listening, because he's just aggressive, and I realized we both just have that Scorpio takeover spirit, and so now I love Will, but like I was just like, bitch, every time you come on, and I started listening like last year, every time you come on the podcast, you got somebody crying. Why are you always making somebody cry? And I'm just like, Will, my goal is to make you cry. He's like, I almost cried once with Danielle Jose Older. I was like, well, bitch, almost doesn't count.
Yeah,
I need
right?
real tears. I need your mascara to run.
And I would say, Zoraida Cordova. I don't know if anyone's read Zoraida's work, but she's amazing, and I think she has like the most. How can I describe this? I think she can write anything. She can write fantasy, urban fantasy. She can write science fiction. She can write magical realism. I'm just obsessed with her. And
let me tell you something about Zoraida Cordova.
Okay.
Because I am convinced that she's going to have one of those Stephen Graham Jones careers where she has all these books, and then one is going to take off, and when it takes off, her backlist is going to blow up, and then Zoraida Cordova will become the Zoraida Cordova.
Yeah, she's amazing. And Cameron Hurley. I think Cameron Hurley, what I love most about Cameron is her evolution. I think she's really honest about where she had her blind spots as a writer. And she's the first person when people call her out on shit to be like, yeah, that was fucked up. I got to do better. And I think that really speaks a profound. And you know what? I have to say, Mur Lafferty's new book, Station Eternity, Murder She Wrote in Space, is hilarious. I love that book. And I'd probably say Tochi. What's Tochi's last name? I always forget.
I thought we were only doing like one or two. But
I know we were, but we just go for
that's
it.
That's why I just said one, and then all of you guys have said like 10.
Let the love flow. I know.
Listen.
We'll come back to you, Marshall. Let you say some more if you want.
I just feel like there's so many people, but the ones I picked, Cameron Hurley, Zoraida, Daniel, Sui, and Tannereve, I would say are the people that and Lee Bardugo. All right, one more, Adam Silvera. They're the ones that I go back that I'm like, okay, I would love to be. I like the way they write.
Listen to the Daniel.
Brent.
It's Brent's turn.
Brent.
Well, Marshall, did you want to say a couple of more?
No, I felt like everybody threw out extra ones. I'm gonna throw out two Black authors that I love. One is Maurice Broaddus, that's nobody's brought up as well. And I would also throw Aize Jama Everett in there as well. I've only read one of his books and some of his and one of his comics, but I can't wait to finish his Liminal People series, which is phenomenal. So,
I have that.
Oh, it's legit good, dude. Like he's my thesis advisor for my program right now, and so I read his book before I got to him. But his fourth book's about to come out in that series pretty quick here, so it's legit good. So
Marshall,
I feel better now. Thank you.
You don't want to throw in another favorite of there?
Aaron Roberts?
I love Aaron, but R.A. Salvatore.
I was gonna, but I didn't want to be that guy who throws out all the white dudes and like just people from my past and stuff. But no, R.A. Salvatore is always a go back to me. Like, just if I just need just fun fantasy D&D style, I love his stuff so much. So
no one's gonna give you shit. You like what you like, and that's influenced you.
No,
I made fun of you guys because you guys you and Nick used to always bring up fantasy, and I used to always be lost. I used to be like, I don't know who they are, or like I never read them.
Well, R.A. Salvatore put out a short story recently that is a Jarlaxle short story that is just, it's a novella. I don't know. I read on Audible. It's amazing. It's awesome. And it's just part of that world, just one of those characters you love. I've loved for 20 years, you know? So those are the people, that's just what I go back to. So,
yeah.
All right.
It's like
Brent. I will rattle mine off fast. I know we're at time. So, we talked about it earlier. L.D. Lewis. There is a violent elegance to everything that she writes. It is visceral, but it is beautiful at the same time. And everything she writes. Jen Brown. Jen Brown is just fucking poetic fashion on the page. Like that's just like that's what her voice gives. It's just very like, it's like runway fantasy realness. That's what I feel like when I'm like reading her stuff. P. Jelly Clark. There is a magical lyricism, like expansiveness. I guess I'm using just all these word salad, but his worlds feel expansive in the way that I think some people say mine does, but he just does it with such like style and swagger. That's the word. Yes, there's a swagger to P. Jelly Clark's prose. Yeah. And then I had two more to rattle. Ended off. Sam Miller. Sam Miller, his stuff is just it just feels like sexual tension just on the page all the time. Like it's always like this little like it's like you about to get some, but you don't quite get it, and it's like you want it to happen, but you're not sure when it's gonna happen. That's what it feels like you're reading his stuff. There's always a level of like there's just it's like a dark room. That's what reading Sam Miller novel feels like. It feels like going to a dark room in a New York club. Yeah, in a good way. And Will knows what I'm talking about. Yes, look. Yeah.
What's the doorway?
The dark room in the New York nightclubs. We know what those
What's
do.
the bad way? I said what I said.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. And then Who is my last? I had one more last one. My favorite always, Max Gladstone. There's all of his stuff feels, it's like accessible cerebralness. That's what his voice is like. It's like, this is dense and is very intelligent and is very like well researched and thought out and collegiate, but it's accessible. So
before we leave, I'm just going to say that Brent named a lot of our friends, and I'm not an asshole for not naming my friends. I was specifically naming people who have books out, so that I'm an asshole for not naming them. I love y'all.
No one thinks that. No one thinks that. Yeah.
Until I get that hate mail.
No. So before we wrap it up, I just want to say to all of y'all, thank you, because I knew I took us to like some good places, some hard places, blah, blah, blah. But I hope this episode is one that we all will come back to whenever we're not feeling so great about our writing and need a boost. Because I think there was a lot of uplifting that happened tonight, and I think it's a good thing. So I hope, if you're out there listening to, like, find your tribe the same way that we have our tribe here. And, if you don't feel like you have a voice in your writing, just keep going. And you probably do, and you just don't realize it. So, get a few tribes. Just LP said, get a few tribes. That's true. Get people that are gonna love on you when you need to get loved on when you're writing. But and to kind of like bring it back to the book, this book is like that. This book is like an uplift. Like Never Say You Can't Survive is like one of those books that just like it kind of cradles you from start to finish when you're trying to like create something that's you, right? And it says it at the end of this: write the book that only you can write. And if you don't know what that is yet, just keep writing.
Boom.
Drops mic.
He did that.
I almost pressed stop, but I want to keep the squeals at the end. And this has been Just Keep Writing, a podcast for writers, by writers, to keep you writing. You can find us at justkeepwriting.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Feel free to reach out to any of us on our social medias, and please jump in our Just Keep Writing Discord channel. Links to all of that is in the show notes. Lastly, please support our show by going to patreon.com/justkeepwriting. We offer daily writing prompts, early access to podcast episodes, and much more. Thanks for listening, and just keep writing.